Welcome back to the Wholesome Pharma Channel, brought to you live on the Steve Vine News Natural Health Network. My name is Dr. Eric Koda, and I will be your host this evening. Tonight, I'm honored to introduce as my guest Dr. Heather Pickett, who is a brilliant colleague and physician, former flight surgeon and colonel who I've worked with closely over the years. Dr. Pickett was a residency program director, and she has since retired from the Air Force. Dr. Pickett has a very impressive and long list of accomplishments and decorations, but because of time constraints, I'll mention right now that she is a family practice physician and DO who is board certified in medical acupuncture. Dr. Pickett is also part of the Department of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation and works closely with the VA at Nellis Air Force Base, conducting acupuncture and senior care. Welcome, Dr. Pickett, to our show today.
Thank you, Dr. Koda. It's great to be here.
All right. Well, I just wanted to ask you because, when we were at an acupuncture conference a little over a year ago, you had mentioned that you were going to do some humanitarian work in lesser developed countries, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, if that's okay.
Sure, that's great.
All right, so you're multi-talented and very diverse in your abilities, and we'll be listing all those in a transcribed copy in this interview for people to read. But for today, what countries did you actually do some acupuncture in?
So towards the end of my Air Force career, I had the opportunity, as you're familiar with, to do some flight medicine missions, and I started dabbling in it. At that time, I hadn't been in an active flight surgeon position when I had initially learned my acupuncture, so I didn't have as much of a chance. But I dabbled in it when I went down to Guatemala to do a nation-building exercise and worked on some locals in that area and found just with ear acupuncture they were quite enamored with it and had such an incredible response. I thought, gosh, in the future I hope I can do something like this. I retired from the Air Force, and the church that I go to had started to have a relationship with an organization in Haiti, and this was right after the earthquake in 2011, 2012. And in 2013, I had the opportunity to go to Haiti and witness the devastation of the earthquake and then subsequently the cholera outbreak. And my first time there, I hadn't brought any acupuncture needles. We did a week-long intensive mission with an orphanage. There was an orphanage that had almost been washed away into a river in the mountains, and then we went to some seriously abandoned slums that no American physicians had ever been in, and did some medical care. And at that time I thought, gosh, why didn't I bring my needles? Because there's so much we could do with them, because we're only giving them a few medications, but I could actually teach some basic ear acupuncture. And I know you've spoken about the battlefield acupuncture in this forum before, Eric, that you and I both do. And so the next two times that I went down to Haiti, after that I brought my entire acupuncture kit and started incorporating it with our medical mission there. Do you want me to continue on, or do you have some specific questions about it?
Well, a lot of it really intrigues me. One would be, I've done some medical missions, without acupuncture, and, definitely some of the issues that are big are, things like the cost and things like the inability to continue care. We are notoriously famous for having lots of money and bringing things like CAT scanners to third world countries,
right.
And a year later no one knows how to use it and it's getting cobwebs, yep. And we bring medicines and, yep. As soon as they run out of their 30-day supply, they're back to square one. So,
yeah.
How did you find acupuncture compared to that?
So what I did on my second to Haiti, we'd already established a relationship. We go with an organization in Chicago, and we have our Las Vegas team that goes every 6 months. I don't always go, but several of us physicians who'd worked at Nellis Air Force Base had also gone on the trip and had learned ear acupuncture. So when I started, I said, hey, let's just try this, because a lot of times in third world countries, and I'm sure you know this, they see us as, even if they have a physician right there who can treat them, when they see an American physician, they think, oh, what they will give me will be better. And unfortunately what I saw is there were a lot of patients who came who were actually doing pretty well, who had been treated in the community with the appropriate medication, but they came to us wanting the same treatment just because we were American physicians. And they were really looking for pills because in their culture, especially in Haitian culture, there is a lot of voodoo, there's a lot of mystical medicine, there's a lot of witch doctors, and some of them really stand by it and utilize it, but others don't want to have anything to do with it. So now I'm kind of stuck between two worlds going, well, I'm not going to give you the same pills that the Haitian doctor actually just gave you, but I have acupuncture needles that may really help your pain and may really help it longer than a few Tylenol pills. And my biggest concern was how would they receive the needles, because in Haiti and in voodoo culture, needles have an extreme amount of power. And lots of witch doctors use needles as spiritual techniques to either curse someone or bless them. And I even had a few patients who came to me to ask needles to be removed from in their body because they had been cursed with the needles, and the witch doctor had placed them in their body in order to allow them to curse and kill other people. It was that intense, and this was only a few years ago. So I had to explain to them through my translator that I have needles that are not cursed, that are medical. And I usually when I explain to them about China, people generally seem to understand it. And I said, we are using this a lot in America. We are finding it works better than medication, and they won't stay in for very long. And I think this may help you more. And just a few sentences like that seemed to help them. It just had to be the first person that I had to get to agree to it. After that, once it went throughout the community that we did something, then more people started coming. And what we found was just using the auricular needles, we had such a tremendous response to people with 20, 30, 40 years of pain. And I think it's because the community as a whole, and you'll see this in third world countries, do not use very much medication. And so their body, my theory is, and us from having done acupuncture, their body is used to healing itself, is used to not having to go to a pill or some kind of treatment with every single ache and pain that we tend to use in Western culture. And so just a few auricular needles had a tremendous response. So then I brought the Haitian doctors over and started working with them and showing them our basic battlefield acupuncture protocol, the 5-point indwelling needle protocol. And they were beside themselves. I hadn't actually seen my one doctor had much facial expression at all until we started using the ear acupuncture. And he was just screaming aloud, miracle, this is a miracle. And the patients were saying the same thing. Generally, every patient walked out of there with a pain level of 0. And I can't say for sure if that really is what happened or not, but they had such a tremendous response. And so I left the needles, the excess that I had brought, with our physician down there and did very basic, simple training just to do a few of our main points for him to continue to use. And then the next time I came, the following year, we picked up where we left off, and he had been using it intermittently throughout the year. And there was much more of an acceptance of it. And the patients really loved it. The children I didn't really work on that much, but next time I go down, I would bring the little seeds, because they have seeds that you can put on the ear that are not needle tips, but they can put pressure on the ear to act on the body and to act on the brain chemistry to help with pain or other issues. So that was a remarkable experience. I've also had experiences in Costa Rica and Mexico on mission trips utilizing the acupuncture.
Well, that's really neat. Actually, so that brings up a couple of thoughts. One, actually, from my experience, I find that kids similar to the Haitians are more responsive than the adults. I don't know if it's because similarly they haven't had as many needles. But, I think those seeds might work very well. Also, what did you see in terms of the locals' ability to actually keep up with it? Cost effectiveness, the ability, within that year of the local doctors to keep doing that.
Because I didn't go in there with the intent of let's see how this is going to work over the next year, that wasn't really something that we followed closely. I think now they're starting a nursing school, and that might be something I'll get involved with, and we'll maybe be able to look at it a little bit closer. Cost effectiveness, basically down there you have to pay for everything. So, if your children are in the hospital, you have to come up with the money and try to pay for their hospital care. There's really no infrastructure to speak of, especially in Haiti being the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. So they do like to rely on a lot of the UN and NATO goods that come down and the medications, but they found that just using the ear needles, and lots of people are in chronic pain because they're hiking up and down the mountains and through the jungles all day and that kind of thing. Having the needles stay in, and I didn't hear any reports of infections, having needles stay in for 2 weeks to 30 days was effective. But again, I don't have any long-term follow-up, just the anecdotal follow-up within our small towns that we worked at.
Now, it does seem that the local doctors kept up with it to some degree over the course of the year. I take that to mean it wasn't too expensive for them to do that. Does that sound accurate to you?
It sounds accurate, but they didn't have the supplies, so I left them with a big box, so it was just with what I had left them. So that would be the next issue, because getting supplies into Haiti, you can't ship them down there because they still don't even really have a postal service. So we just have to bring them down. So if it's something that I'm going to pursue more, like I said, I don't have a formal program. It's not like Acupuncturists Without Borders. Then that's something I'd want to, include with future trips. Another trip is coming up this next February. I may not go on it, but my husband's going to go on it. So I'm going to have him bring needles down. And I've had other physicians go down who used to be my residents who are trained in acupuncture will go down. And the great part is that we're combining it with traditional Western care, right? We're taking away the scabies, we're delicing them, we're deworming them and the children, and then we're going into the communities and helping with whatever's going on. And the acupuncture is just such a great adjunct. And we're doing minor surgeries there. I had lots of kids with extra appendages, so I would do acupuncture on one person, and then the next child would come in and maybe we'd have to remove his sixth toe. And so that's the beauty about being able to do it as a physician, because we can give them the best of both worlds. When I was in Mexico, it was interesting. I went down there to teach American medical students at the University Autónoma de Guadalajara, and that was last year. And the medical school students actually wanted me to give a talk on acupuncture. And so this is a well-known medical school that lots of Americans go to, kind of like Ross University in the Caribbean. And so you'll have American students go down there. So they wanted me to talk about pain management and what we're doing with acupuncture here, because some of the things they're being taught are 10 to 20 years behind. And so I had everything prepared, kind of like what you and I have given to our fellow colleagues in our different environments. And once I got down there and some of the senior doctors in the hospital found out I was talking on acupuncture, they nixed it because they said, there's not enough data to support acupuncture. And here I was going to talk about how we're researching it with the NIH, we're incorporating it into Harvard Medical School, we're working with Stanford Medical School, we're working with UCLA. And the Mexican physicians down at UAG were saying, no, we don't talk about that. So it was really an interesting cultural shock for me. I didn't expect that from an academic institution. But the great part was I then was able to take these med students down to a remote indigenous village in Taracuato, where there are a lot of the indigenous Indian types. And again, now we had this experience where I was able to utilize acupuncture along with Western medicine. And we did auricular there, and the med students, of course, picked right up on it. And we started doing a lot of auricular, and the Indians did great with it. I mean, you could just see their face lighten up. We also used essential oils with them for from different pain issues and for some anxiety issues. And we also used combination acupuncture and essential oils for some of the trauma. We have an ear trauma protocol that Dr. Joe Helms has come up with called Auricular Trauma Protocol that we're using a lot in the VA and in the military for post-traumatic stress. And, of course, there's a lot of that goes on in third world countries.
Oh, very good. I envision, actually, my practice, very much like you were mentioning, is, I totally incorporate acupuncture on a daily basis with Western medicine and give the patients the option of either, and, the people that are open to it are open to it, and the people that aren't.
Right.
One thing that you mentioned to me about Mexico and, the university setting, brilliant thing that very famous acupuncturist that we both know and love, Dr. Richard Niemsau, did in his early days was to actually, basically in our hospitals too, everybody poo-pooed him and thought he was a crazy nutcase, right? But his approach was originally, give me the people you can't fix and the people that you've already given up on, and I'll fix them. And he fixed a lot of them, and that's what changed it all, really.
Exactly.
And so, it took that, but, he proved so many cases, he proved people wrong, and that, wow, there's really something to that. So, I don't know, maybe that would help down in Mexico in the future.
Yes, I think it would. Unfortunately, the folks who were connecting me with the academics, didn't. I had no opportunity to meet the actual other physicians because it was kind of like a word of mouth thing. And then, so yeah, in the future, I definitely would like to have a meeting with the physicians and show it to them. But that's how Dr. Richard Niemsau was able to help me when I taught as faculty at the St. Louis University Family Medicine Residency, bring it into our residency, because I had all the residents bring their tired, they're lame, they're worn, they're blind, pretty much everyone who was the patients they were having the biggest problem with, and Dr. Niemsau was right there, and he just said, okay, do you want your pain to go down to a 0 to 1? And everybody was awestruck, and, patients were walking out of there without their canes and without their wheelchairs, like you and I have seen so many times over the years. So, yes, it was remarkable.
Really neat. Actually, before we close, I think you alluded to some of them, but many future steps, kind of going along this theme of the humanitarian stuff that you have.
So I think future steps in my little world would be, one, we're actively doing this right now in Las Vegas. We have an underserved clinic that several of us have kind of been in on starting it, Hope Christian Health Center, which is the first of its kind of clinic here in Las Vegas. There's other federally qualified healthcare centers. This one is faith-based, and again, you don't have to have a certain faith to go there, but the reason we put that together is really to help with that whole holistic spiritual side of our bodies and our lives. And so the patients can come there and know that they can get good quality family medicine, but we're also going to be integrating other factors into their care. And so I've started working there in a pain management capacity. We're mainly serving uninsured, underinsured people, and you'll find that working in that population, a lot of people just will not go to specialists for follow-up. A lot of people who are in chronic pain or trauma from coming over to our country will just not follow up. So that's one area that I'm going to start utilizing acupuncture. I'm also an osteopath doing osteopathic manipulation in just that little area. And again, the population, sometimes it can be similar to the third world population. So see that benefit right here at home. Then with subsequent Haiti trips, I'd like to just bring down some of our battlefield acupuncture teaching protocols and ship several boxes of our auricular needles down and just, start it small, but maybe try to incorporate it into the nursing school curriculum and work with some of the doctors down there. Because the nice part is we have a set relationship with this ministry who has orphanages all over Haiti. So we also know the doctors who work within that. So I think that's a great place to go where we can just make a little inroad with medical doctors who are also doing medical care. And that's not to minimize Doctors Without Borders. They actually have an Acupuncturists Without Borders organization where acupuncturists go all over to third world countries and do lots of trauma relief and pain relief. In my situation, we're going to try to do it through established relationships. So right now, I think that's some place that I'd like to go with this. And if you ever want to come to Haiti with me, that would be great. We could really do a great job.
I really would like to do that. That sounds terrific, or any other third world country for that matter. I think that, I heard you doing that, and I thought that was just brilliant because it would be really helpful. Well, thank you very much for being on the show today. And actually, just talking to you, I can think of topics of future discussion like, the use of acupuncture in the VA, or, even about essential oils, which I know you're also an expert on. But thank you for coming on this time, and then we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks, Eric. It was great talking to you.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you.